Overview of the Omnibus Franchising Guidelines. Please, I am saying it so slowly so you can stand up and come here on stage. Please welcome LTFRB Chairman, our Chairman, Attorney Martin B. Delga III.
Magandang hapon po. Mangayong hapon sa tanan. I'm tasked to present an overview of the Omnibus Franchising Guidelines that has been the product of many months and nights and hours of work, and especially not only with the OTR team but also with the other partners that we have in the other government agencies, as well as with our development partners, as well as with the transport sectors, as well as with the academic and academic partners, as well as with our international partners. So this is actually a product of a lot of discussions. The graphic presentation earlier speaks well of why we are all here. And this is precisely captures why we need to move forward. We would like to think that the Omnibus Franchising Guidelines is the way to move forward in this respect. Why? Because we're looking at the pictures so clearly why we need the reforms needed. As mentioned earlier, the moratorium has been in place since 2003 until the present. There has been a number of occasions by which LGU and even the transport groups have been asking for franchises, and we have always said no, because for a long, long time, franchise issuances has been operator initiated. And what that means is that government has never been able to make a firm grip on how we're going to address public transportation needs in a rational, comprehensive, and systematic manner. And what is the effect? For this long-standing moratorium, we all know that colorum has proliferated, and there has been inadequate public transport supply. And obviously, it resulted to traffic congestion because people have preferred or have decided to buy their own cars instead of getting into the public transportation system, which is obviously inadequate at this point in time. And we look at the numbers here. We have all these modes of public transport that ferry passengers. If you notice, trucks for hire is not here. And the biggest number is PUJ. We would like to see that the numbers will change over time, because among other policies that were put in place is the hierarchy of public transportation system. And on top of that would be the buses. As it is, this is a transformational large-scale initiative and a flagship program of the Duterte administration. As you can see, the presence of the secretaries of the different relevant government agencies would give you a good message as to why this has to move forward cohesively in a very collaborative manner all the way up to the top. What is the component of these Omnibus Franchising Guidelines? As you can see, there are 10 components, but insofar as the PUV Modernization program has 10 components, but insofar as the Omnibus Franchising Guidance is concerned, we would only be looking at regulatory reforms, local public transport route plan, route rationalization, industry consolidation. All the rest will be taken care of by the other components outside of the Omnibus Franchising Guidelines. As mentioned, part of the regulatory reforms is to look at how we manage franchising franchising issues insofar as public utility vehicles are concerned. As we have seen in the study, we have noted that it has been too many all around. We're looking at statistics by which operator has 1 or 2 units at the most. We would like to address that fundamentally. That is why, as you can see, the presence of the transport cooperative here, as well as the organized transport group, will tell us very concretely why we need you to come together and address industry consolidation. Insofar as vehicle specification is concerned, we all know that the state of our vehicles on the road is obviously dilapidated, antiquated, and pollutant. We need to address that as well. Insofar as consolidation is concerned, we also have to understand that operators will have to come together, not necessarily having to ease out the small ones, but having to come together even for the small ones, come together, make it in a bigger group so that we will be able to regulate. On the part of the operator, it will be cost effective. On the part of the regulatory body, we will be able to manage it well. And more importantly, so far as this department order is concerned, is actually to address the participation of the LGUs. This I would like to say again, the LGU is very much important in having to address their local public transport needs. So, insofar as the participation of LGU is concerned, we note that there are quite a number of LGUs that may need to capacitate themselves in order to organize and come up with their own local public transport route plan. But for those LGUs which are already capacitated, especially some of the highly urbanized cities, we can move forward to the preparation and the submission of the local public transport route plan. And when that happens, and the LDLRB, as the regulatory body in the issuances of franchise, will go to work and address franchise issuances at the local level. Insofar as how we're going to address the local public transport planning, insofar as city and municipality LGUs are concerned, that will be the concern absolutely by the municipalities and component cities. The provincial government will take care of the routes that are traversing between and among municipalities and component cities. For highly urbanized cities and for those cities and LGUs which comprises what we call the MUSEP area, the entire Metro Manila, to include the neighboring provinces of Bulacan up north, Rizal at the right side, on the southwest would be Cavite, and then the southeast Laguna. The DOTR will plan out the routes. The Omnibus franchising guidelines will also address environmental issues, safety issues, security, and comfort and convenience of our mananakan. We're also looking at, and this is where we would need the support of the Department of Finance as well as the Department of Budget Management, insofar as having to address financing the affected PUVs or PUJs, no? In addressing the modernization of their units. So as we are looking at the situation and the future by which before we only have one franchise, one unit at most, and obviously it is not cost effective and therefore will amount to inefficiency. We're looking at consolidation where we would see fleet management, safety officer being a key and core function of the bigger cooperatives or the bigger operator which will now run the routes, as well as terminal and garages. The transition period is 3 years. Why? We know that this whole program is not only transformational, but we're trying to address, if I have to say this, a problem that has long existed. Long before 2003, when the moratorium was put in place. And obviously, there are a lot of labor pains that we have to look at, we have to attend to, and recognize the fact that this whole program requires time and involvement and participation, assistance and support of all the sectors concerned. For 2017, we have been carrying up. I would like to take special mention on the efforts of Land Bank, Alex Benaventura, for pushing forward to a pilot implementation of this program this year. And hopefully for those LGUs who may already be capacitated and in fact who may have their own public transport route plan already in place, the DOTR through the LFRB would now be able to address franchise issuances. This is the timeline that we're looking at. Formulation of the MCs, route plan, island area implementation. The jeepney design is also being discussed thoroughly. The local public transport route plan preparation and approval. Industry consolidation is likewise addressed to operator selection, financing, for jeepney production, social support mechanism for those PUV operators and drivers that may be affected, as well as the automatic fare collection system program. So all of this, we're looking at a time frame of 3 years. Hopefully, we'll be able to make it even shorter. This would not be possible without the help, assistance, coordination, and partnership with all of our partners in all of the other government agencies concerned, as well as our academic partners, as well as our international partners. To all of you ho, marami hong salamat. And with that, we thank you.